Hi again, everybody, and welcome to this week's Ingles Furman Radio Network game preview as we get set for the renewal of the oldest rivalry in the Southern Conference, the most played football game in the history of the league. Old-timers from the Furman and the Citadel, this is your week as the Paladins and the Bulldogs get together at Johnson-Haygood Stadium on Saturday afternoon down in Charleston. I am Dan Scott, the voice of the Paladins. Welcome again to the Ingles Furman Radio Network preview. Tom Van Hoy, David Cobb, and I will be bringing you all the action from Johnson-Haygood on Saturday. We'll set you up with the broadcast info a little bit later on. But obviously, this has not been what you would call a normal week by any stretch of the imagination. The Hurricane Helene effects have brought all kinds of upheaval here at Furman, across the entire upstate region, and most significantly in western North Carolina, where we have a lot of friends, people that we have interacted with over the years through Furman and getting to know a lot of folks up in that region. The destruction up there has just been astounding, and I don't mean that in a good way. Been a lot of issues here in the upstate of South Carolina. Many people are still without power. My wife and I were fortunate. 4.5 days we were without power, but able to survive on a generator, keep our immediate family safe and taken care of. The coaches here, there are still some coaches on Furman staff who at home don't have power, but they're doing their jobs, and all things considered, after the Samford game was officially postponed / canceled, I think we have to all agree that game's most likely not going to be played. They were able to turn their attention, and they've been able to get in as close to a normal week of practice as possible. When the power was still out, some of the coaches were actually working out of meeting rooms at the Westin Hotel in downtown Greenville. So big props to them for providing that opportunity. They needed internet, obviously, phone service, and electricity to do what they needed to do. And they had developed a contingency plan because at the time there still wasn't power on campus. Well, they got back to campus. The players had been sent home for the weekend. They gathered back on Monday. And as they were in the team meeting, and Dwayne Vaughn, the defensive coordinator, shared this with me, as Coach Hendricks was standing up and just started the meeting, the power came back on. So the contingency plans go out the window. They were able to stay here, do what they needed to do here at Paladins Stadium and the football facilities, and have gotten again in as close to a normal week as possible. I just want to reiterate, speaking for myself, and I'm sure on behalf of many of us here at Furman in the athletic department, for those of you who are watching this and you have been affected by the hurricane, personally, my prayers are with you. I've been praying for you for a long time, and for our friends up in western North Carolina doing the same thing for you. And it's great to see all of the relief efforts that are being put together by a lot of different organizations. And I'll just tell you this, keep watching Furman social media, because you're going to see something that's going to be coming out about ways you can help if you're a Paladin fan coming up at the stadium here over the course of the next week or two. So let's talk about this game. This Citadel team, of course, winless a year ago. They are 2-3 out of the gate this season with victories over North Greenville and Charleston Southern. They've lost to South Carolina State, Mercer, and ETSU, so they are 0-2 in the league. The Paladins, of course, losing the Samford game last week. This will be the conference opener, and being down a conference opportunity, it can either hurt you or help you depending on how you look at it, because in a situation where there is an uneven number of games played, when you're talking about league standings, winning percentage will trump everything else. So the Paladins, with one less opportunity, every game takes on that much more importance now, starting with what is the de facto conference opener this week at the Citadel. Maurice Drayton, in his second year, as mentioned, they were winless a year ago, has tried to put his stamp on this program, and talking to the coaches here, talking to Citadel's broadcaster, Brian Giffen, starting to see the fruit of those efforts, of the labor that they've put in. It is not the under the center double wing, grind it out option, try to suck you in, hit you with the occasional big play downfield Citadel offense. They're spread. There's a little bit of option out of the gun in that, but they are throwing the ball down the field. In fact, they had a game earlier this year where they threw it 40 times and only ran it 26 times, which I'm wondering how that went over with some of the Citadel old-timers. But you know what? If you end up winning games, I don't think it really matters how you do it. That's the most important thing. And as mentioned, they are 2-3 after going 0-11 last year. They brought in a transfer quarterback by the name of Jonathan Bennett. He started a few games at Liberty last year. He is a grad transfer. He's thrown for 921 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and has also rushed it for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns in their first 5 games. He is the guy that makes that offense go. And Brian Giffen, their broadcaster, telling me that he hasn't played his best game yet. My response was, I hope that best game is next week and not this week. But he's the guy that makes it go. They have a very talented receiving core. They've got some size on the outside, which means that you're probably going to see Furman's defensive backs be attacked with the jump ball. They have a very fast, talented slot receiver and redshirt junior Javante Graves Billups, who has 182 yards and a touchdown already. Their ex-receiver, Dervon Pesnell, already 260 yards receiving on just 12 receptions. He's a Campbell transfer. So they've got some guys who can go get the football when it's in the air, and their starting running back, Corey Ibrahim, has given them a little bit of balance, 284 yards rushing, a touchdown, also 7 catches out of the backfield. On the defensive side of the ball, the Bulldogs have taken it away through the air 4 times. They've recovered 4 opponents' fumbles, so they're +2 overall in the turnover battle. Pretty good size up front, like several of the teams that Furman has faced already and will continue to face. The advantage that Furman's offense would seem to have, at least looking at it on paper, is the back end of the Citadel defense. And Furman's ability to attack the ball downfield is going to be, I think, a big part of this game. Also, statistically, and I talked to Justin Roper about this, the offensive coordinator, sometimes stats mean things, sometimes they don't. But statistically, the Bulldogs giving up 185 yards rushing per game through the first 5 games. That's been inflated a little bit through the course of some things that happened late in a game or two. But still, the idea for Furman is come out, try to establish the run. And Justin Roper telling me not so much because you want to go in and be a running team and not attack, but if you can establish the run, that means you're winning the physicality battle. And so that's something they're going to look to do. The Paladins' running game has not really gotten untracked so far this season, so we'll see if they can do it here in this game on Saturday. Just looking at some of the offensive numbers and how the two teams stack up. Citadel averaging 26.8 points a game. Furman offensively 23.2. The total offense, Paladins at 384.6 and Citadel at 328.6. Bulldogs rush it for 137, almost 138 yards a game. They throw it for 191. And the Paladins have been offensively, have been at 246 passing and 95.5 on offense on the rushing game. I was looking at the wrong chart there for a moment, so excuse me. Furman's total offense 341 yards a game. That other number I gave you was the Citadel's defense, where they allow 23.2 points and 384.6 yards of offense per game. But the numbers that you also look at, Furman, can they get pressure on the opposing quarterback? Citadel has allowed 7 sacks on the season. Furman has sacked opposing quarterbacks 8 times through the first 4 games. Will the Bulldogs be able to run the football on Furman? Offensively, I mentioned they're rushing at 137 per game. Furman giving up 210 on the ground per game. And, of course, William and Mary, the last time out, had 380 rushing yards against Dwayne Vaughn's defense. I asked him about that, if they are eager to get back at it after that, especially missing the Samford game and now 2 weeks to kind of simmer on being manhandled, quite honestly, by that William & Mary offensive line. He just had a little twinkle in his eye when he told me he guarantees that team is going to be excited about taking the field on Saturday. So those are some of the numbers in this one from a standings standpoint. When you look at where we are in the league right now, Mercer still undefeated, 3-0. They are 5-0 on the year. ETSU is 1-0 in the league. They're the only other team in the league with a win. And then you've got Samford, Furman, Western Carolina, VMI, who've yet to play a league game. Wofford 0-1, Chattanooga 0-1, and this Citadel team sitting at 0-2. So from a league standpoint, this is a big game for both teams. Bulldogs already 0-2 in the league. So you got to think that they are really focusing and getting themselves psyched up about not going to 0-3. The schedule, Furman Citadel, 2 o'clock kick. We'll tell you the broadcast info in a minute. Wofford goes to Western Carolina. And I don't know if you saw the story earlier this week, but Western Carolina, they are going to play the game. Wofford can get there, but because of everything else that's going on with relief efforts, recovery efforts, cleanup, and the fact that they are still in a massive state of emergency in Colowee and beyond, they're going to play that game in Colowee with no fans. So my buddy Gary Ayers and their radio crew will have a much larger audience, I'm sure, for that one. VMI at Samford at 3 o'clock, Chattanooga at ETSU also at 3 p.m. So everything this week is a conference game, and we're going to start seeing the moving, the shucking and the jiving, if you will, in the conference standings significantly from this week moving forward. 2 o'clock kickoff at Johnson Haygood, which means that our radio broadcast will begin with the Pepsi countdown to kickoff at 12:30 from Johnson Haygood. So we hope that you'll join us for that. The game is available television-wise via ESPN+. But as we always encourage you, watch it, but turn the sound down and listen to David, Tom, and me as we bring you the action. Paladins looking for their second win of the year and looking to get off to a 1-0 start in SoCon play. Thank you for joining us. Again, we look forward to having you with us on the broadcast, and we always enjoy the renewal of the oldest rivalry in the SoCon, Furman and Citadel football, Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock from Johnson Haygood Stadium in Charleston. We'll talk to you then. For Dan and Tom and all of us at Furman, I'm Dan Scott. Or for Tom and David, I'm Dan Scott. God bless you, and so long, everybody.